I'm Donald Kelly, and I am the one, the sales evangelist.
Entrepreneur Edition, a show that explores the journey of business owners who decided to be the one to make life better for the people they serve. I'm your host, Sonia Thompson, and today's guest is Donald Kelly. Donald is also known as the Sales Evangelist, and he hosts a podcast of the same name. Donald coaches sales professionals on how to improve at their craft, and he recently launched his 4-week sales acceleration course to help other business owners and sales professionals improve their selling habits. As a business owner, sales is a very important part of your job, so I'm super excited to introduce you to Donald so you can learn from the message he evangelizes. But before we get to the interview, I want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Try Business School. Get the information you need to build the business of your dreams, step by step. Visit trybizschool.com, that's trybizschool.com, and get started with your free e-course, the 4 people you need to build a successful business. Now, let's get to it. Here's Donald. Hey, Donald, thank you so much for joining me today. It's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, Sonia.
All right, let's go ahead and dive right in. Tell me a little bit about the Sales Evangelist.
Good question. And I say good question because, not because everyone else say good question, but simply because the fact that it is. People sometimes ask me, is that because you're an evangelist? Do you go out and preach? And I'm like, no. It's not that exactly. I do preach in a sense that I evangelize about sales. And the Sales Evangelist started from a couple things. I had a job where I was a software, that was prior to software sales, but I was selling a product, IT product, and everyone had the same title as sales accountant or account executive, and I thought it was boring. And I remember in college learning about Guy Kawasaki and how he was Apple's chief evangelist. And anyways, I loved the evangelist side. I was like, that's kind of cool. Don't hear it in the business world a lot. And then a good buddy of mine, Jared Easley, you interviewed him recently and had me on a show, and we were chatting about sales. We both worked at the same company at the time. And he said, dude, you're like an evangelist. You should be like the sales evangelist. And so I used the title from a previous job where I was the IT evangelist and combined that with the sales side, coined by Jared, and then eventually it was born the Sales Evangelist, and that's how I got the title. So I educate, I evangelize about proper selling, and help individuals, entrepreneurs, small companies, mid-sized companies to empower their sales force to be able to know how to sell effectively.
No, that's a very good thing, because I know a lot of times people hear the terminology sales, or whenever you talk to entrepreneurs about the need to sell in their business, they all think it's a dirty word and they want to run screaming. Why is sales so important, especially to business owners?
Good. I mean, I find this. I was actually reading an article the other day. Was it yesterday? It was this morning, actually, about the idea of sales. And if you really look at it, everything, doesn't matter what we have in our homes. Like right now, I have my computer, I have my desktop, I have my picture frames, my mic stand, everything that I have, I had to literally purchase. More than likely, that was through a process, whether it was online or through an individual. So sales is very key to the driving of our economy in our economy, and also worldwide economy. So you have to have individuals that are able to sell those products effectively in order for organizations to grow. And just as an entrepreneur, you might think that, well, it's tough for me to sell. I don't like to sell. I feel like I'm tricking somebody. Well, if that's the case, then you may be able to, you got to reanalyze what you're doing, because sales is not necessarily, it's not tricking anyone. Sales is about providing value. And that's why I like to evangelize about it, is when you feel you have a moral obligation to explain to someone something that can help them, you got that moral obligation to tell them. If I know you're using this, I don't know, a rock to hammer nails, it's my moral obligation to tell you there's something that I have called a hammer. It makes it so much easier for you. You know what I mean? It could, save your fingers. So it becomes this moral obligation. So as a company, it's everyone in an organization is a sales professional. Everyone needs to have the sales culture. Even if you're a one-man, two-man shop, you need to have that culture that we have to provide value. We have to sell, share that value with other people. And I think it's vital. It's very key. So those entrepreneurs who have a trouble with that, I can definitely encourage you with some books that you should definitely read. But it is going to be the driver towards your success later in life. You have to be able to sell for your business to grow.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. All right. So now you decided that you were going to start this podcast, The Sales Evangelist. What made you decide? I know how you felt about evangelizing and you feel very strongly about it. What made you decide that you were going to be the one to start letting people know how important sales was to their day-to-day and to their career or to their business?
It was, yes. And the reason why I felt that way was because I get really passionate about things. I just certain things I just get really passionate about. When I do, I love to go to the rooftop and blurt and tell everyone I know about it. The idea was when I was starting off as a seller, I had this picture in my mind, and I'm sure you and you meaning the listener who's listening to this and watching this, may have a stigma or an idea of how a successful sales professional look or dress or is like. And my idea was this, Rico Suave dude, or, this just really beautiful, blonde or whatever. And only those people are successful because of their looks and they're slick and quick talking. But then I quickly realized that was false, because I saw that anyone could sell. And I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. Because I was like, that person, they're a top seller. They don't look like a top seller. And that was, a fatal mistake on my part when I started, having that notion, because then it crippled my ability to be successful, because I was like, I need to be like them, when in truly I needed to be myself. Right. But then I started getting the training and the techniques, and I saw that sales is really just a building block, just like anything else, just like algebra. If you have X and Y, it equals this. And that's what happened with sales. If you follow a certain process, anyone can be successful. But the only thing that I do require, or it has to be a part of that formula, is that the individual must have a desire. Because if that desire is not there, then there's no way that anyone can force you to sell or to express or share value. The individual must come with that desire that they want to do something. And then I can teach you everything else you need to do to be successful. Guaranteed. That's just, I've seen it. If I can do it, that's when I realized that anyone can do it. And my message started to change. I started to share. Anyone could sell. I want to tell everyone about that. And the podcast was a great avenue to be able to go and evangelize that message.
No, that's a great point, because I think a lot of people feel like they have to be an introvert. They have to be an extrovert or a natural salesperson to be able to do this. So it's great to hear you say that anyone can do it. They just have to be taught the right principles.
Yeah, and actually one of the things too that's kind of scary is that most sellers, especially like myself, because I'm outgoing, people will say, "Oh man, you have a great personality for sales," or you would be a natural at selling." And then those are the people usually have the hardest time, because they think they can sell based on their personality alone, but that's not when people buy. You know what I mean? You got to be able to know, besides being a happy, outgoing person, you have to know what to do and how to do it to be able to effectively become a top performing seller. So I see people flush out all the time, and I have clients I work with who go through that, I guess, how do you say it, this drama in their head of, I'm an outgoing person. People said I would be good at sales. How come I'm not good? Well, it takes more than just a nice smile or whatever, So.
Right. You got to add the training to your talent.
Exactly.
Make it work, definitely.
Exactly.
All right. So what was going on in your life at the point in which you started this podcast? A lot of people try to wait until all the stars are aligned to make sure everything in their life is operating just perfectly before they start a new project or before they start a business. So what was going on with you?
It's kind of interesting. When I first graduated college, I had a desire. Well, in college, if you look in my office, you can't see it, but to the right of me, there's a whiteboard and it's on the wall. And I love whiteboarding. And in college, I had the plan that I was going to work for someone for 3 years, and then I was going to go for an MBA or to do a startup. Well, the MBA, I started realizing that, maybe I really want to do this, where do I want to go? Started looking at some of the Ivy League schools, what I need to get done, blah, blah, blah. And then the startup idea was also still lurking there. I was like, maybe in college I can, for an MBA, I can come with a group of people and create a wonderful startup, and we can give Mark Zuckerberg a run for his dollars. And it, so you believe that some people believe in the idea, you put it out there and the universe brings it. I believe you put it, set the plan, you put it out there, you do have that belief, but I still believe there's a lot of action that needs to take place. I was working in a company doing software sales. I started performing well. I was doing one of the top performers, and I outbeat some of the folks who were seasoned veterans who just, got flushed out. And that's one of the theories that I was able to bunk, that I was this young guy being successful compared to these 15-year vets who were not being so successful. So that's a bunch of garbage when people tell you that stuff. So anyone can do it. But I was in that role, and I realized that I wanted to try the podcasting. If you listen to my first podcast to where I'm at today, it's a total difference, because I didn't know everything. I just realized that, hey, I like this avenue. I know I need to get the message out there. My website at the time was, I don't want to talk about it. It was pitiful. But anyways, the website was out there and the podcast was out there. I was engaged, I believe. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, we were engaged at the time, or dating, and I wasn't married yet. And it wasn't like the perfect climate. I didn't have tons of money sitting in the bank to go and start this startup. I mean, for a podcast, you don't really need much money. In sales, you do have stuff, but I didn't have like 100,000 for the startup that I was trying to do,
Right.
or stuff like that. You didn't need that capital. So, all the stuff that was out there, I didn't have the bunch of online experience. I didn't have all of the, the things that people think you need to have, all the automation tools. And I just had a microphone, I had a computer, and I had a basic little WordPress template website. And I went with that. And I knew I had the message in my mind and my heart and the people that I wanted to get connected with. And that's where I was. That's the humbling situation. And then it just grew from there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So knowing what you know now, if you had to go back and start over, what, if anything, would you do differently? What advice would you give to your younger self?
One advice I'd give to my younger self if I had to go back was to make sure to 10x. And I will explain that. Grant Cardone has this book and his theory called it 10x theory. And the 10x rule. And 10x is like, just 10 times everything you're doing. Just go above and beyond. So with the podcast, if I was able to think bigger with it and start off bigger with this, bigger goal, my mantra is, do big things. I think I should have done even a grander vision. And that's what I would have told myself, because I feel that when you shoot for the moon, sometimes you land on the stars. Right. And that's pretty awesome. And we're doing pretty fine, but I think if I had had that higher trajectory, maybe bigger things would have happened or could have happened throughout the journey of where we are today. But it's something I'm implementing now, to just 10x, go bigger. Yeah. If I need to make a phone call, then I need to get 10 phone calls just to make sure that, what if that one doesn't work out? Or I want to have X amount of people in my audience. Well, let's 10 times that. What can I do to get that? Right. Let's go bigger than just thinking in the small pot.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point for sure. Now, can you tell me a little bit about a failure that you encountered along your journey? I know it doesn't always come out a bed of roses whenever we try something new. So what failure did you encounter, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, there were a lot of failures, especially starting off with the podcast. Some of the failures, little stuff like, you think you're getting business, like say, for instance, coaching clients is what I do a lot of. And I, had people that I depended, that I thought was going to work out. I had plans of how I'm going to do stuff, but it started to flop. Like people that I thought that I could coach, my mindset was one of the big failures too. Even though I motivate, it doesn't matter who you are, you still have these failures. Right. And one of the things that I told myself was, would people listen to me? Would people really want what I have to offer? I've been sharing messages on a podcast, but now as I go out and try to sell stuff, I had a really hard time trying to get over my own head trash that even though I'm young, I can still educate people in their 40s, right, or, on sales. And it was a major stumbling block for me. And it was a hindrance. And I remember one client I was trying to work with, trying to get, and I sat down with them and I was trying to go through the sales process, because you have to be confident in what you're selling. Right. And I'm confident in what I was doing. And early on, I just wasn't confident in my ability to articulate and share a message to sell my services, because it was just like the first time selling sales coaching.
Right.
And anyways, long story short, I look back on that situation and the deal didn't progress. I think if I was in that guy's situation as well, I don't feel like brought forth enough compelling value to him. And it was for an AC company that I was trying to bring on, and it could have been a sizable income for me, but it failed. But in the process of it, I learned. And I took those confidence and I went forward, and now I got a bigger client than that. So it was pretty awesome. So you take those failures, you take those limiting beliefs you have, and you find out how you can work on and improve. And now the confidence level is a lot further, because I helped a lot bigger company. I can help any size company, that I want to now. And it's just overcoming those limiting beliefs that you have. So.
Well, I think limiting beliefs is something that plagues a lot of entrepreneurs in particular. So what did you do to get over them so that you were able to land those bigger clients moving forward?
There's a couple things. You need to realize there's a theory that I've learned. It's called the I and R theory, the identity and the role. Okay. And the identity and the role, it's say, for instance, if you take someone, you put them on a deserted island, you take away all of the roles in life. They have no more a daughter or a son or a husband or a wife or a sales professional or entrepreneur, no roles at all. How would they rate themselves as far as on their scale of identity, 10 being the highest? And when you ask that to a lot of people, most people say, well, without my roles, then I would probably be a 3. I'd probably be nothing. Well, and it's false, because so many of us are dependent upon our roles to help us find out who we are, when in actuality, it's our identity helps us to define our roles, and it shouldn't be backwards. So say, for instance, when you have a strong identity, it's your self-worth, your self-confidence, your self-beliefs in yourself. When you have that strong I, 10, that high level, your ability then to perform in a role increases dramatically, because I don't care what you think about me, because I know that I'm a 10 deep down inside. Right. So that helped me a lot. Now, as I went past this struggle, this failure, quote unquote, that I had, I was able to take that knowledge, like, listen, I know I could do this. I've done this before. I feel confident in my ability to sell. I've sold 200,000, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in sales before. Why can't I sell on my coaching? Right. And that was something that I had to overcome and get past that head trash. And it comes too with talking to other people, talking to you friends and families, and also with your people you've worked with, past clients. And when I was able to see that, and the other cool thing too was with the podcast, when people started to reach out to me and tell me how something that I shared touched them and helped them to be successful, or helped them get an appointment that they haven't been able to get before, or helped them get a sale. I was like, oh my goodness, this little message here in this room is touching people throughout the world. And those things help to boost the confidence. Like, there is something there. I know it. And it helped me to go forward. And even though sometimes you come upon obstacles, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you're a failure, or that you can't overcome that obstacle. It's just have to figure out, what way do I go through it, over it, or under it, around it. There's a way to get over it. So it doesn't mean that you need to stop. It just means you need to figure out a way to get past it and become even more successful.
No, that's really good feedback. And we'll definitely put more information about that methodology that you just mentioned in the show notes, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs are going to need to work to overcome that, because sometimes it creeps up when you least expect it. And you're like, oh my gosh, how do I deal with this?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
So what has been your proudest moment as you've been going through this?
The proudest moment, I probably tie back to that last message I shared about a listener who, someone who reached out and said something helped them. And one email in particular that I really enjoyed was, I won't reveal his name. Let's just call him Martin. No, let's use another one. Let's use Trevor. There's another guy named Martin in my group, but this wasn't about Martin. But let's say Trevor. Okay. Trevor, for instance, was this email came in, and Trevor was working on a deal and was having a tough time to get to this particular decision maker. Over time, he's tried many different things through phone calls, stop bys, snail mail, tried everything and wasn't able to get to them. And I gave a little idea on an episode, and Trevor was able to take that idea and was able to try it. And the idea was for sending multiple calendar invitations. And I learned this I call it this quirky, boring sales coach. It was a guy who was substituting for one of my sales coaches, and I was in a president's club, and this guy was a substitute adjunct trainer. And oh my goodness, it was like boring, it was so bad, horrible. But there's one thing that he shared was like the calendar invitation. He's an entrepreneur himself, and he was like, what if you can't get a hold of somebody? What if you were to share them with a calendar invite? So I've been practicing that, and it works flawlessly. And there's cool tools out there like assistant.io, I believe. I can send you a link for that. But now you can send, it's easier, but you can send multiple calendar invitations in an email. And anyways, long story short, I gave him this idea to use Outlook and to send that. He sent it. The person accepted the meeting. He was able to meet with them. He was able to close the business and get the deal. And I was like, you know what? Stuff like that makes me happy. I didn't get any like money from that or whatever.
Right.
It's not about that. It's the fact that I evangelized something that I saw work that was helpful. And this guy was able to try it and he saw success. So that's one of the proudest moments that I've had with the podcast.
No, that's always cool. Whenever you're working and you're knowing you're getting feedback that you are making a difference, that you are making life better for the people that you're serving, that's always a beautiful thing. And it's one of those priceless things as well.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So any parting words of wisdom for entrepreneurs and those who are dreaming of start a business but haven't actually pulled the trigger yet in terms of how to build what it is that they dream of?
Yes. I would say get out of your own way. And what I mean by that is that so many times, I even had that today. I had that this morning. I was working on something and I had an idea, but then I told myself, like the initial thought coming in my mind, I'm sure we get it. And we're like, oh, that would be so cool. But then the self comes in place and says, well, nobody's going to want that.
Right.
That's not going to be beneficial. It's going to flop. They're going to criticize that. Don't ever do that. Don't worry about doing it. And I say, who cares? Fail on, fail forward, try. What's the worst that could happen? On a scale of 0 to death, where does this fall in place? I guarantee you it's not death, but it's going to be closer to who cares. And try different things. Try those quirky ideas. Test things out. It's all about improving and growing. And maybe you try something out and you realize you need to tweak it just a tad bit, but put it out to the audience. And there's a book called, what is it? Losing my mind right now. But anyways, oh my goodness, I can't believe it slipped my mind. I have to go look at my books over here. Okay. But it's the concept of creating like an MVP, create a minimal viable product.
The lean startup.
There you go. What? How could I not believe lean startup? So I have it on Audible too. Anyways, so you create that your minimal viable product, your MVP, and with that minimal viable product, then you can then be able to go forward. So say for instance, you want to try the podcast, try recording a couple things and then create a blog and put it out there. See what your people say about it, or record your conversation and then put it on Facebook, a little video or something, and ask people, tell me what you think about this, and get the feedback, because now you can just test it and you can see how it can grow from there. But the worst thing would be to have that idea and then to not do anything about it. That's the sad part. So my thought is to try, to do,
just go,
because that's the benefit. Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful, Donald. Where can people find you?
There are several places. I camp out on Twitter a lot, so you can find me on Twitter, Donald C. Kelly, DonaldCkelly, or you can always find me at home, thesalesevangelist.com, and there you can get connected. You just go to the contact page and you can see my different things of Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or even Skype. So you can find me there. So thesalesevangelist.com, again, thesalesevangelist.com. So
we can all learn a whole lot from you on how to sell ourselves as we're working on building our businesses. So thank you. All right, before I let you go, I do have a bonus question for you. All right, so it's always cool to find out what people enjoy in movies and what they like in movies. So if you could go ahead and deliver for us a line from a movie that's stuck in your head that I'm sure you have repeated to someone at some point in time in the course of conversation.
There's several, and I'm going to say a cheesy one. Okay. And the only reason why, because the story behind it is so darn powerful. Okay. But it's the Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I'm explaining why. If you
Okay.
understand Arnold's story of how he started, he was this bodybuilder, and people told him that he wasn't able to act. He was, he could have listened to his head trash, just the garbage that says you can't do it. But the idea that I will be back, even if I fail, I will be back. If I don't go where I need to go, I will be back. And I'm going to keep coming back until I make it. And I'm going to keep going forward. And I'm going to keep breaking through. And Arnold could have given up. And he eventually, obviously, did a lot of great things.
Yeah.
Started off Conan the Barbarian, then eventually went to the Terminator and that stupid line, silly line there, I'll be back. But that line is very powerful. So I like that line as, my movie line. And it encourages me that, hey, if you fail, just get up and go back, go forward. So
Awesome stuff. Donald, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much again for being a guest. It's been great to have you.
I appreciate the invite. Thanks so much, and really appreciate what you're doing for the community. And I know your audience definitely will appreciate all the great stuff you're doing. So continue providing content. That's awesome.
Oh, will do. Thank you.
Thanks.
I hope you were as energized by what Donald had to say as I was. He said lots of things to make us think, but there was one thing in particular that stood out to me. And that brings us to today's I Am the One challenge. It's great to sit at the feet of experts and learn from them, but you've got to apply those lessons if you want to make them work for you. So based upon Donald's insights, here's today's challenge question for you. Sales is an essential aspect of every business, but in most instances, it doesn't happen on its own. So what are you doing to embrace and formalize the sales process within your business? Specifically, what are you doing on a consistent basis to advance your sales within your business? Think about it and then head on over to iamtheone.fm and let me know your answer. Leave it in the comments on the show notes page or even tweet me at Sonia E. Thompson. I'll be on the lookout for you. Until next time, keep working on building your dream business so you can make life better. Somebody's waiting on you. Thanks for watching.